typically you are your own worst critic. You look in the mirror and you're like, I don't look the way I should. But to other people, it's phenomenal. So Chris is looking, he's like, I'm a little bit flat. But to us, to normal viewers, we're thinking, this is insane. Coach Greg, and we've talked a lot about Chris Bumstead's diet as he prepares for the Mr. Olympia, but what about his training? Well, in today's video, we're specifically looking at Chris's chest training workout to get a shredded chest. We're going to examine, does he look on point? Is 3 weeks out? Is he ready? Is he off? Did he lose enough weight? So we're training with Chris Bumstead 3 weeks out. Let's check him out, see what we can learn from him.
What you think it's like being Mr. Olympia, and it's just me deadlifting 6 plates like the last video, is what it's really like trying to win Mr. Olympia, just falling asleep through the middle of the day.
And it's summertime and Chris is all bundled up and he says he's always cold, probably because he's in a calorie deficit, but he's about to take pre-workout, get pumped, get amped, of course do a warm-up before starting his training, and then take it out from there.
I'm gonna mix this up, and one thing that I recommend, dry scooping is a bad idea. Not only is it a bad idea, it's the opposite of a good idea.
And I agree with Chris, you shouldn't be dry scooping your pre-workout, although you can, it's not of any benefit. It's actually more beneficial to consume it with water. You need water to stay hydrated. You're about to go to the gym and sweat. You're trying to stay pumped. Hard to get a good pump when you're dehydrated. So rather than dry scooping a bunch of pre-workout, try wet scooping it. Does that make sense? Wet scooping it? Try wet drinking it? You know what I mean.
I'm not trying to do anything fancy, not trying to do anything new, so we're gonna stick to the good old chest day routine we've been doing.
Okay, first things first. He's training the same way as he did to put on the muscle as he's cutting. A lot of people think that when you cut, all of a sudden you need to rest less between sets. You have to do all supersets and not take a break. It's not true. Whatever you did to put on that muscle is what you need to continue to do as you're trying to get cut. Just think of it. Why would you not try to maximize muscle all the time? You think you're only trying to build muscle in the off season and then during your cutting phase, you just don't care about building any more muscle? No, always try to build muscle. Whatever you need to do to build the muscle, keep doing to keep the muscle.
I did 5 plates, I think 2 weeks ago. We're down to 4 1/4 right now. Trying to play it smart. My wrist, shoulder stuff.
Next tip, leave your ego at the door. He was lifting 5 plates aside 2 weeks ago. He's down to 4 plates in a 25. Why? Well, he's getting leaner. He's losing a lot of weight. It's hard to keep your strength when you go from 260 pounds to 240 pounds. You're just a smaller person, hence you lose some strength. But you adjust the weight accordingly so that you can still do the same number of reps. So rather than sticking to 5 plates aside the entire diet and going from 12 reps to 10 to 8 to 6, better to lower the weight just so you do the same amount of reps. The body, the muscles don't know how much weight you're actually lifting. It only knows how hard it's pushing. So rather than focus on just lifting more weight or the same weight, focus on how do you feel while lifting it.
We're gonna warm up with this bad boy.
Okay, I don't know if he's done previous sets to this, but to warm up with 4 plates on a side, basically to failure, it's not the way to go. You need to prime the muscle for lifting heavier later. Warm-up sets should never be taken to failure, and if they are not warm-up sets. They're working sets. So I don't know if this was his first set of chest, but if it was, I would strongly suggest he starts with a lighter weight and ease his way into it. So if you're watching Chris at home and you want to learn from his chest training, highly suggest you do a couple of lighter warm-up sets before you start training to failure.
All the way. Nice.
And if you notice, he's not using a full range of motion. His training partner saying go all the way, but he's cutting a little bit short. It could be because he's fatigued. Maybe there's too much weight, but I would suggest he goes a little bit further up and squeezes at the top. Use better mind-muscle connection. But this is Chris Bumstead, a multiple Mr. Olympia title winner. He could get away with this because he knows his body. But if you're a beginner, maybe you've only been training a few years, I highly suggest you get used to using full range of motion on every rep and get used to that before training like Chris.
So flat right now that like squeezing the muscle feels like there's just no muscle there to squeeze. But that feeling of flatness and hunger and depletion
means we're getting shredded.
And he's saying it's hard to get a pump. He feels very flat. Now, Chris's flat would be like us pumped on our best day ever. But it's true, he's not lying. When you are in a calorie deficit, your muscle glycogen stores are very diminished. So it's hard to get a pump. But this is the means to an end. You can't be pumped to the fullest every day you go work out and still get to under 5% body fat. You need to be in a calorie deficit, and by being in a calorie deficit, your muscle glycogen stores are going to be diminished. It's a necessary evil. It's not fun. Of course, we prefer to be pumped up every time we go to the gym, but you can only do the best you can during these calorie-limited training sessions. And make no mistake, Chris, although he's 3 weeks out, not as strong as he was, he's still pressing up 150-pound dumbbells on incline chest presses for over 10 reps. He starts out strong, not quite to full extension, but the dumbbells are so big it makes it difficult to really get up in the air and close together. As he gets fatigued, his training partner's there to assist him to force him through some additional reps. He's not training half-ass. He's not thinking, I better keep 3 reps in reserve to save myself for the next set. He's thinking, I gotta train my freaking ass off. But Chris, he's an advanced level bodybuilder. If you're a beginner, you don't need and should not train this hard. But as you get more advanced, you need to progressive overload and continue to train harder than last time. So at Chris's level, being the top level in the world, he obviously needs to train as hard as anyone else would ever want to train.
We're about to see how skinny I am right now. I haven't had carbs in 3 days.
He hasn't had carbs in 3 days, so let's check out how skinny he appears to be. Remember, he's having a hard time getting a pump. He hasn't carbs in 3 days, so his muscle glycogen stores would be next to zero. So let's check out how skinny, puny, and lack of a pump he actually has. And he looks more pumped than I've ever seen him in my life, yet this is flat. Notice the mindset of a champion. I'm real flat. He takes off his sweater. He's in a tank, veins everywhere exploding out of his body. He looks shredded already, 3 weeks out. He looks amazing, fantastic. And this is on no carbs. So being flat, it's all relative. This is flat for Chris. To us, it looks mind-blowing. If Chris had said, I ate a huge carb meal before, this is the most pumped I've ever felt, stripped down and flexed, we would have said, yeah, it clearly worked. But he's saying, no, I'm flat, I haven't had carbs in 3 days. And so it's all relative, and typically you are your own worst critic. You look in the mirror and you're like, I don't look the way I should. But to other people, it's phenomenal. So Chris is looking, he's like, I'm a little bit flat. But to us, to normal viewers, we're thinking, this is insane. And I notice he's training in sock feet. 150-pound dumbbells, weights all over the place. Things are dropping, you trip over stuff. There's weights, benches. I don't recommend you train sock feet. An accident could happen. Anything could happen. You drop that dumbbell on your foot, and now you have a broken foot trying to prep for the Olympia. It's more important to be safe than sorry, and so I highly recommend when you train to train with your shoes on.
7, don't quit. 8.
And you can see on his next set of incline dumbbell shoulder presses that he gets a few less reps, but he's still close to 10, and he doesn't quit when he can't get any more reps. He does partial reps at the end to increase the intensity. So just because you can't do another rep to full range of motion doesn't mean that you can't get another half rep. And by doing that extra half rep, you're increasing the time under tension and mechanical tension on the muscle, which will contribute to further growth. And again, on the pec deck flies, you can see perfect form, especially at the start, pausing at the top, really getting the squeeze, controlling the weight, great mind muscle tension. And as he gets weaker, that pause, he can no longer keep it there. But he keeps going. And later he gets even more fatigued, can't go all the way up, but he keeps going. So he goes from doing very strict paused reps to very strict reps to partial reps to increase the intensity of the exercise. He is not training half-ass. This is to failure and beyond.
But today I had a little sodium and I took all the pump products, which I don't take the pump products every day. When I combine those, I just actually get a chest pump eating no carbs. It just feels so good.
And I know exactly what Chris is talking about. Some days you go to the gym and you don't have a pump, and other days you have a pump and you just feel so much better. The muscles, they feel good when you have a pump. Arnold used to say, it's like coming. coming home?
I'm like getting the feeling of coming in the gym. I'm getting the feeling of coming at home. I'm getting the feeling of coming backstage when I pump up.
Life is beautiful. The sun is shining. It's actually raining.
Rain.
Everyone's like, what the fuck? Raining all day. It's still beautiful. Life is beautiful. We're enjoying it.
And Chris is saying enjoy life. It's a beautiful day. Even though it's raining outside, it's a beautiful day. Remember, Chris also have said it's about the journey, not the destination. When he won the Olympia, it's exciting for a day or two, then it's over. Then it's like, now what? You need to enjoy the journey. He's dieting for months to get to this Olympia. He has to enjoy every day. The dieting, it's part of the process. You can't just rely on that one day of excitement because it is a hard job to diet for the Olympia. 3-4 months of contest prep for one day on stage, and then a day later it's kind of over, and then what? So rather than focusing on just the day of the show, the 5 minutes you're up on stage, focus on the entire journey. So my advice to you, you're probably not training for the Olympia, but maybe you want to look better, feel better, enjoy the journey. Whatever diet you're on, enjoy it. If you hate it, you're not going to stick to it, so don't even bother doing it in the first place. Only make changes that you can sustain. Keep doing them for the rest of your life. And next up for chest, a superset, as if he's not training hard enough already. He does cradle crosses to failure and then some, doing partial reps at the end, and immediately follows that up with dips. He's training harder than last time. Supersets, only about 30 seconds rest between the sets, allowing the muscle to train past failure beyond doing 2 exercises together. Great exercises, great way to make his chest workout even harder than last time.
4, 3, 2 more. Last one.
And he finishes up his chest training with some triceps. And as you can see on the tricep press down, he doesn't just train to failure, he trains to failure and beyond. Getting assisted reps, doing partials, doing whatever it takes to make the muscle maximally stimulated. So you keep thinking, oh, you can't train to failure, it's not good, no one should train to failure. It's not true. I don't care what the scientific studies said. Those scientific studies, were they done with a Mr. Olympia bodybuilder? Or were they more likely done with soccer players, hockey players, people that work out a little bit? And yeah, of course not. You shouldn't be training to failure if you're a beginner or just an intermediate lifter. But once you've been training and already progressed and made a ton of growth, you got to start training hard. If you train hard, you're probably going to make gains. Don't go all out at first, but work your way harder than last time, progressive overload, and that is how you're going to build muscle.
Felt good. Got a nice little pump. So got some cardio to do now. Lots of stuff going on.
And although he already looks incredible and he's 3 weeks out, he's still doing cardio, he's still on a strict diet, he's still doing whatever it takes to get as lean as possible to leave no doubt that he is the 3-time deserved champion. Hope you learned something from Chris's chest workout. You can apply it to your own trainer. Remember, if you are a beginner, you don't need to train like Chris. But if you're at an advanced level, you want to look like Chris, well, sorry, you're not going to look like Chris, but you can in fact train like that to maximize your growth for the advanced lifters. Ending it here. GregDoucette.com for coaching, Greg Doucette IB Pro. Watch one of those bloops. Get the harder than last time supplements. Please give it a try, especially the pre-workout if you're looking to get a pump and have energy for the gym. Also, training books and coaching plans from me and my team, custom made for you. Also, follow me on Instagram and TikTok. And until next time, I am out.